This afternoon, CBS News has confirmed President Trump is expected to issue an executive order aimed at dissolving the Department of Education. It comes as the administration is facing pushback over new tariffs. Natalie Brand has the latest from the White House.
Oh, I'd like it to be closed immediately. Look, the Department of Education's a big con job.
For weeks, President Trump has talked about shutting down the Department of Education. CBS News has confirmed the administration is expected to issue an executive order directing newly confirmed Education Secretary Linda McMahon to start the process of dissolving the department. Lawmakers grilled McMahon on the topic during her confirmation hearing.
I'm really all for the president's mission, which is to return education to the states.
The department is downsized. Would the states and localities still receive the federal funding which they currently receive?
Yes.
McMahon also acknowledged only Congress has the power to close the department, and getting that through the Senate is unlikely.
It will be a disaster for working class families all over this country. It will mean higher property taxes.
So yeah, as you've already heard, probably President Trump wanted to sign an executive order closing down the Department of Education, but he pulled back on that. He did not sign the EO because he knows that Congress is the only legislative body that can actually close the Department of Education. But what he did do, he does have control over layoffs and over those going through the department and making sure that only the right people are still on board. You know that there's 4,100 people that work at the Department of Education. And what's been happening is there's been a misinformation campaign that the Democrat Party has been going through the media, utilizing through the media, putting people in panic. Do you know how many people actually believe the Department of Education is in control of the public schools around the country? People really believe that if you shut down the Department of Education, that means all of the schools closing, and it does not. All the Department of Education is a conduit. They were established in 1979 under Jimmy Carter, and we know how horrific and terrible his programs and his plans were. Jimmy Carter was considered the worst president ever, and by many. Now he's been replaced by Joe Biden, who, like Jimmy Carter, embraced a lot of these left-wing socialist ideologies, and one being the Department of Education. And what we've seen over the years, we have seen a decline in education ever since the Department of Education was created. And Ronald Reagan wanted to do away with it, but he couldn't. Finally, we have members in Congress and in the Senate, but it'll be harder to push it through the Senate before the midterm elections. We need bigger numbers, but they've been trying to do it, but it's just pushing it through because the Democrats know that they can block it. And you may say, well, Brian, why do the Democrats want to block the Department of Education from being shut down? Well, if you've been looking at what's been happening, that DOJ has been finding in the Department of the Treasury with USAID, many people believe, and it is alleged, that there are billions upon billions dollars worth of fraud, if not being in the trillions. The Department of Education gets around between 60, 70 billion dollars a year. But yet the scores of our children have decreased majorly. Matter of fact, let me show you this by the NAEP. That's the National Association of Educational Progress. Okay. And if you look here, their most recent update, they haven't updated it for 2024 yet, but I'll just go back to this last national report card. And isn't it funny? They suspended doing the report cards in 2022 under the Biden administration. But the last report that they did of the national average, and this is for fourth grade students, of the fourth grade public schools performing at or above NAEP proficiency. So that's fourth grade students reading at or above grade level. Only 32% of fourth graders in our nation as of 2022 was reading at or above grade level. And that's terrible. Do you know that parents that were going to school board meetings that were complaining about the books that were being forced on their kids, a lot of these transgender and over-sexualized books, they were being added to the domestic terrorist list under the Biden administration. He would alert Merrick Garland, and Merrick Garland, the acting attorney general at that time, sent a letter out, okay, on behalf of the Board of Education, the Department of Education, to the school boards in the local areas, telling them if a parent complains, submit their name. When they get reported, their name is added to the domestic terrorist list. It was so outrageous. It was so outrageous that the Republicans tried to step in and do what they could do, but nobody could believe that this was happening. And they tried to hide it, but it was exposed. So right here, we're going to have Randy Weingarten, who was the former Department of Education head. I'm gonna let you listen to her, and you'll be able to decide which party she's affiliated with. But listen to the propaganda that she spews as she's trying to sway the American public to fight back against what President Trump is doing at the Department of Education. Check this clip out.
What the Department of Education does, sorry, I am a civics teacher.
Yeah.
LBJ, 1950s, he was a teacher in Texas of disproportionately Mexican American children. And he saw them come into his elementary school without shoes, in total poverty, but they saw the school as their salvation. And what he brought to the White House with him, that was part of the war on poverty. White kids, black kids, Mexican American kids, was let's find ways to level up opportunity, to give kids food, to give kids tutors for literacy, to have paraprofessionals, to have reading specialists for lower class sizes.
If you enjoyed this video, do me a solid. Hit that like button. I'll never ask you for a cash out. I'll never ask you for a super chat, but you hitting that like button, that is currency because it helps spread the video around. And if you aren't subscribed to the podcast, subscribe. Here on the Real Politics Podcast, that's what we do. We talk real politics. So once you subscribe, make sure you hit that notification bell and select all. That way you'll be notified when I upload new videos. I want to stop it right there because I just want to point out and highlight the first lie that she told. LBJ was not a teacher in the 50s. LBJ was the head of the Senate in the 50s. Remember, he became VP in 1960. LBJ taught at a school in Texas between the school year of 1928 and 1929. And so that's just to let you know what type of character this woman has, telling this bold-faced lie. LBJ was not a teacher in the 50s. He taught in the 20s in Texas before he had his evolution and, became the cutthroat politician that he became. So I just wanted to highlight that he did not teach in the 50s. He taught in the school year of 1928 and 1929.
Have federal money to do that. The same in terms of kids with disabilities. IDEA, have federal money so that kids with disabilities are not in the basement anymore. So it's federal money that disproportionately goes to red states. That actually is opportunity. So when somebody says DEI, it's opportunity. It's so we can create that ladder of opportunity. It's so we can make sure that kids can succeed. Poor kids, kids with disabilities, kids who want to go to career tech ed, kids who are first generation college goers to get some scholarship money. That's what the Department of Education does. And that's why you're seeing across the country, people saying 90% of the kids in America go to public schools.
Yes.
They know what Title I is. They know what IDEA is. The federal government does not control education. The states do. Local school boards do. This is about opportunity. That is why so many people are so mad about it.
The only people mad about it are Democrats. Isn't it funny, all of the things that she said, all we have to do, but yet none of that was done under her watch? Grading, reading levels got worse, mathematic ability got worse, and now she's concerned about kids with disabilities being in the basement. Well, why didn't you do anything while you were there? Now she's talking about, first generation kids going to college. Hardly any kids are going to college right now under when you were leading it at all. Matter of fact, college enrollment has dipped dramatically. As you saw, only 3 out of 10 kids nationally were reading on the 4th grade level.
Because they're just taking opportunity away from kids that don't have it. So kids of billionaires, they have it. They go to private schools. Everyone else, 90%, go to public schools. Don't take away their opportunity.
Now, listen to what she just said. Oh, let me let you hear this part.
No, let's stay on the facts.
Sorry,
no,
I'm really angry about this.
No, because
you notice the announcer said, let's stay on the facts, because she know everything she just said was a blatant lie. Matter of fact, she was being hypocritical. Now, you're talking about the Department of Education, but then you just said the rich people's children go to private schools. So the Department of Education has nothing to do with those children. So how is closing the Department of Education down making it easier for children of billionaires to go to school when those billionaires are paying for it? And let's just be real. State taxes fund public schools in the area, not the Department of Education. The Department of Education gets billions. Do you know that in a recent list, they ranked the top 40 countries, and we are amongst the top 40 countries. But amongst the top 40 countries in the world, the United States spends the most per student, but yet we rank 40th. We rank last. 2 years ago, we were ranked 36th. Now we are last or second to last, depending on which list. So we spend the most, we rank the last. And we got this left-wing extremist fighting for the Democrat slush fund that is called the Department of Education to be upheld and to be kept. No, it's not. It's being shut down. As a matter of fact, Linda McMahon, who is the new department head, she recently went on Fox News and she spoke with Laura Ingraham, not only about President Trump wanting to close it, but also about Randy Weingarten, the former Secretary of Education, spoke about her outlandish statements that she made on MSNBC. Check out what Linda McMahon, and when you hear the last name McMahon, yes, this Linda McMahon was the CEO of the WWE. She ran the business side of the WWE. So she's not an ignorant lady. She knows how to run a conglomerate, a multi-billion-dollar business, and make it run lean, mean, and efficient for years. And she worked with President Trump during his first term, and now she's the Secretary of Education, and he wants her to bring those corporate skills into that department and trim the fat, make it run lean and mean and more efficient so our children get taken care of. But check out what Linda McMahon had to say on Laura Ingram's show.
Your reaction?
Well, clearly we're not taking away education. The president never said that. He's taken the bureaucracy out of education so that more money flows to the states. Better education is closest to the kids, with parents, with local superintendents, with local school boards. I think we'll see our scores go up with our students when we can educate them with parental input as well.
Well, she's very angry. And over the weekend, I posted on X that it would be nice if Randy were ever angry about the abysmal 8th grade and 4th grade reading and math proficiency. You see those numbers, like 18%, 22% of proficiency or above? In 4th and 8th grade, we rank near the bottom globally on these standards. Well, it's shocking, given how much, and we're putting up a graphic, given how much we spend. I can't even, it's terrible.
Well, I'll tell you, it's unbelievable. And when you think about high school seniors that are graduating, only 30% of them are reading proficiently. Now, that doesn't mean that they can't read words, but they can't read cognitively. And that's what we're missing. You read to learn up until 3rd grade. And then after that, you're learning to read up until the end of 3rd grade. Then you're reading to learn. And if you can't read after the end of 3rd grade, you're going to be behind in your reading. And so that's what we have to focus on.
Well, I say to my own kids, if you don't read, I'm not talking about this, by the way. I'm not talking about phones. I'm like, if you don't read real books, you probably can't write. True. You must read to write. I've been preaching this gospel. I'm not saying my kids are all that great at it, but it's just terrible. I want to ask you on a personal level. You're a businesswoman, and you've known President Trump for a long time. This is a new world for you, this education department. How shocked were you, if at all, about how swampy it really is?
Well, this is my 5th day on the job. And so, I did serve in the first administration of SBA. But so when I got to the Department of Education, the president said, look, I need an executive. I need a leader in the department. And so when I got there and I found out, I said, okay, we have to identify where the bloat is, where the bureaucracy is, and we're going to start there. Because the programs, so many of the programs are really excellent. We need to make sure that money does get to the states. But we want more money to be able to go to the states. And that's what the president said all along. If we get rid of the bureaucracy, the states will get more. It'll go directly into the states.
Block grants to states.
Perhaps block grants without so many strings and red tape attached to it.
Exactly. So what the Department of Education has been doing, they've just been a middleman, so to speak, or a middle person, so to speak. And so money goes in, it's supposed to be dispersed out to the states, but who knows if it ever gets out. If you notice, at least since I was in high school, where we had music class, we had automotive engineering, we had drafting class, we had home economics, and I went to a college prep high school. It was a public school in Detroit, Michigan called Cass Technical High School. But it was public, but you had to take a test to get in. It was very well funded, extremely prestigious, and it is considered the best school in the state of Michigan as far as public school, if not one of the best schools in the country. But we had music class, we had all of those things. Now that high school still has those things because, again, long reputation. But the other schools in the city of Detroit, man, their libraries were closed down, hadn't been used in years. There's no music class. There's no drafting class. There's no home ec. So what are the kids to do? There's nothing for them to do. If they don't make the football team, the basketball team, or the baseball team, they're done. We used to have the debate club at my high school. We had the chess team. We had the golf club. These local high schools, they don't have the resources for it. And why not? With billions of dollars going to the Department of Education, these states should be well funded. And you notice something else, you know, with the whole lottery thing, where the lottery is $500 million and there's a lottery in every state. And that money is supposed to go to the schools. How come I keep seeing all these big jackpots, but I never see the schools getting better? Where's that money going? Have you noticed that? Where does that money go? So kudos to President Trump. Now, even though he decided against signing the EO, right now we have senators and congressional members that are on board. They get the big picture. But we have to keep pushing that line because the Democrats are fighting for their life. They're literally fighting tooth and nail to try to protect whatever little slush funds are still out there, because DOGE is ripping through them in rampant speed. They never anticipated a software program being created that can go through a department in days. They had everything, little intricacies so mapped out and so spread out. No team, no agency could go through that in 4 years, not even in 8 years. And that's how come they just wait out the presidents. They just wait them out, and all of these hit pieces come out through politicos and all of these places. And we're wondering, damn, how are these campaigns so heavily funded? Nobody's signing up for these radical papers and whatnot. How do they keep making money? Now we know. Like Politico got close to $10 million from the Biden administration. No wonder they only wrote great things about them and terrible things about the Republicans. But on the Department of Education, remove the middleman, get that money straight to the states. I think you'll see an improvement, and it'll force the states to compete, because you want to get the people moving to your state. It increases the revenue. And if I know that the schools in Florida are way better than Alabama, Georgia, I'm going to Florida. And so you'll have states competing for who's got the best scores. And it's a lot easier to see where the snakes are, who's taking that money. When there is no Department of Education to hide behind anymore, it's going straight to the states. And we can see who got their hand in the pot and can prosecute those wrongdoers if need be. But I just wanted to jump in and share that with you. It's great news. He didn't straight up shut it down, but they have laid off over half of the employees as of this morning. So the purge has begun. And they're not just chopping people. No, they're cutting those who have no significance, who have not been doing the work, who have been just eating off of the government and collecting a paycheck while our children suffer, reading scores tank. And we keep throwing billions at this thing while we rank last out of the top 40 countries in the world, which is embarrassing, while spending the most. No more of that. So thank you so much. If you've still been watching up to this point, I really do appreciate you. Make sure you remember to like the video, share this video, subscribe to the channel. And as always, from the bottom of my heart, I sincerely appreciate you for watching. I'm Brian Maxwell saying I look forward to seeing you at the top. Over and out, y'all.